All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is up? This is, of course, your boy Bernie here. And again, guys, I do apologize that the streams are not as frequent as they once was, but welcome back to The Charge. Of course, this is your boy Bernie here, giving you the latest NFL news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Yes, guys, that is right. The weekend, we are going to go for an NFL stream. I thought this would be a great time to kind of talk NFL, talk about everything that's going on, especially as it pertains to the mock drafts. We know that there's a bunch of quarterbacks when we look at NFL mock drafts, and right now there's a bunch of mock drafts that we can look at. And, what better way to kind of get started, get situated by watching some of those highlights, watching some of these prospects and seeing which ones we like, which ones we don't like, and really just first, we're going to talk about the top 10 prospects. I think that's probably where I want to go. And then, of course, we're biased here on the channel. Seahawks fans here. So, I would love to talk some Seahawks. So if anybody's in the chat wanted to chat it up about the Seahawks, let me know what you guys think about them and what moves they should make. We will do that at the end of the show once we are done talking about the first couple of prospects, because I think it's important to really look at the quarterback prospects and see who's going to go in the top 5, who's going to go in the top 10, and if there's any late round quarterbacks that might get taken up. But without further ado, let's go to the live video. Alrighty, everybody, and of course we are going to start with not Yahoo News, because they're a bunch of yahoos. We're actually going to go with NFL.com if I can find it. I might even go with Pro Football Focus. I think that probably might be the best one to go with. And again, this to me is probably one of the more accurate ones. So if you're in the chat, let me know what you guys make of all these, and really, what do you guys make of these quarterback prospects? I think there's only really one that I love. And then the rest of them, it could be up in the air. So without further ado, let's start off with the number 1 pick. I think it's no surprise here. He's been the number 1 pick in this draft for about the last 2 to 3 years. And that is, of course, Jacksonville Jaguars taking Trevor Lawrence. We know that Trevor Lawrence is a talented prospect from Clemson. He won an NCAA championship with the Tigers. And we know that he is going to get a lot of people's heads turning, especially with Urban Meyer now being the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The question for me is, does Trevor Lawrence have the ability to, like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Russell Wilson, carry his team from not only just basic, just kind of being a hand off the ball to the running back and go, can he also make the throws in order to get those first downs? You know, that's something that a lot of teams are looking for even to this day. You know, we saw the Chicago Bears take a chance on Trubisky. It didn't work out. And again, you know, that's kind of the way that it's going right now. And the one thing that I can say to you guys is that I really do think that Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. Now, is he going to be the best quarterback prospect we've ever seen of all time? That's yet to be determined, but I don't think so. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback, probably a tier below, I would say. Maybe I would say a tier below like a Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes when his career is all said and done. But nevertheless, he will still be a great quarterback prospect. And if we go to watching the highlights, and again, we'll kind of watch this as we look at the Ziply Fiber kind of garbage. You know, it's kind of like just a bunch of ads. So I do apologize for these ads. But let's take a look really quick at, you know, what we're saying about Trevor Lawrence. Again, Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback, good throw. You know, it's kind of, you know, I'm not the best at kind of this stuff. Again, great shoulder route. Like, that's probably a better play by the wide receiver, in my opinion. But still, when you got an athlete, you put it to where you can catch it. And that was a great throw in that perspective. Again, we're going to keep looking at this. And again, this is from 2018 to 2020. Again, wide open, finds the open guy. I think for the problem that we're gonna have here on the highlights, you know, it's just kind of really examining when it comes to a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Like, you know, was that a throw that was good or was that a throw that was bad? But the problem is we don't have the coach's cam, which, if you guys know anything about me, I actually used to work for a college football team in terms of doing videography, editing some film, but more importantly, actually filming the practices and filming the games. So, you know, it kind of sucks to see that we don't have any of those coaching camp films, because I would love to kind of get a coach's camp perspective on a guy. Like, here we go. This is a good coach's cam here. Boom. Beats his wide receiver there. I mean, nothing too much there. Again, you know, he's going to be a solid prospect. I mean, the thing, like I said, the question mark for me for Trevor Lawrence is, you know, how's he going to do under NFL pressure? What's he going to do when he's getting blitzed? And again, you know, there it is one more time. Good play by the wide receiver there. And again, you know, it really is down to the wide receiver making these plays for him. I really do mean that. That one was a great route, great throw by the quarterback there. So Trevor Lawrence to Higgins there. Trevor Lawrence is lighting it up, passing it to, again, you know, like I said, you know, the thing with Trevor Lawrence is that he's always been a front runner with his team because they've been so good. So we don't know what it's like to play behind. I mean, again, I think this last game that they had, if we kind of watch the, we'll go to the Alabama game, the one that he's just lost, because I feel like that one is probably a lot better. But of course, they're not going to have that one. But we can look at kind of the 2019 championship game and really look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Again, gotta wait for these ads. So let's see here. See Trevor Lawrence in this game. Go. Again, great throw there by Trevor Lawrence, doing a great job. There we go with the halfback screen. Again, that, you know, that's really more on the court, on the running back there and the play design. Not really too much on Trevor Lawrence. Again, got to be smart with that decision, but you know, I'm not really impressed with the halfback screen. It's more so on the blockers than anything else. Again, drop back to coverage. Again, you know, that's kind of the thing, is like, for the most part, this is going to be more so a situation when it comes to it, about how you put athletes in space. And, you know, you can do that the whole game, but the question for me is going to be, what are you going to do when you actually have to make that tough throw? And I know he has made that tough throw before, you know, a drag, nothing too crazy on this route. Kind of got lost in the sauce there. But let's look again at another play. Here we go. Again, nothing too crazy there. Boom. Good route running by number 13. I think that's Renthro, I think he's on the Raiders, I believe. So great route running here. I mean, look at this. I mean, you also have great timing here as well as Trevor Lawrence. Again, the question about Trevor Lawrence in this aspect is not whether or not he's going to be a good quarterback. The question for Trevor Lawrence is he going to be that wow X factor quarterback that everybody's been talking about since John Elway? You know, John Elway, if you guys don't know, was an old-time quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and this guy was probably, I think, for Mel Kiper, who's a big prominent ESPN like mock draft analyst, that was like his number one guy of all time. Like, I don't think anybody except maybe Andrew Luck has had a higher score than him. And it's kind of one of those things where will they live up to the hype of a John Elway or even an Andrew Luck? You know, Andrew Luck didn't play very long, but he was still pretty successful. The question for me is, can he live up to that hype and expectations? That's yet to be seen. And again, we move on to number 2, and I just kind of want to get to it because I think it's more important to look at these guys. Zach Wilson from BYU going number 2 to the Jets. That one to me is a big one because when we really look at it, that is going to be one where a lot of people are going to start thinking about, you know, is he the number 2 guy? Is he, you know, is he really worth it? And again, we're going to be looking at Zach Wilson highlights and just kind of seeing kind of what his gimmick is and really looking at the pro day. Nothing too crazy. Like, again, pro day, you don't really learn anything in the pro day. So I don't really want to look at the pro days per se. I know I just said I did, but I really want to look at the highlights and just looking at how he does this season. Again, you know, this might have some BYU bias in it. Again, here's the thing. I think Kalani Sitake from BYU is an excellent head coach. He actually used to be the defensive coordinator of the school I once was the videographer at, and just filming games and also editing, which is the University of Utah. Like, I was there for 4 years, did video for 3. And every time, man, like, you look at this stuff and, you know, BYU, Kalani Sitake, I think he finally had a team. And unfortunately, due to COVID, he just was not able to really take advantage of the talent that he had because he couldn't schedule games. And, you know, I'm not sure if that's on the fault of BYU or, you know, what it is, but you just had to deal with it. And again, they did lose. So we'll take a look at Zach Wilson as kind of the quarterback prospect, a junior, 6'3", 210. Good throw there. Again, not the, you know, maybe not the fastest quarterback. He didn't really look fast on that play, but still mobile enough to where I feel like he could really get in open space and just kind of get you just the yards that you need. And I think Zach Wilson's going to prove that. You know, some people are saying that he's a better prospect than Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sure if I agree with that necessarily, but I do think that he is a good quarterback. Again, great trick play there by the BYU Cougars. I mean, that's a trick play more so than anything else, but still a great delivery from Zach Wilson to get that guy a touchdown. Again, I don't think that number 1 and number 2 are going to be the biggest, I would say, maybe not X factor, but not the biggest thing people are worried about. The biggest thing that people are going to worry about are so far is the later picks. Like, when we start to look at when it comes to guys like Pitts and Penny Swell and you know, Jamar Chase and just kind of all these receivers, the kid from Alabama. Let me find his name really quick before I kind of really forget about it. Devonta Smith. Like, I mean, that's kind of, you know, there's a lot of question marks when it comes to those guys. I know Devonta Smith's is because he's so tiny, but I still think he'll be a successful player in the NFL. And again, we're gonna find out from Zach Wilson, like when we look at these highlights, who's basically the main target for him. Is it going to be number 5? Because I've seen number 5 now on a couple of highlights here, and that's going to be a concern for me, because you want to make sure that a guy like him can really do it. Hang on 1 second. Let's see here. see here again. Highlight. Ugh, dude, we don't care about these plaques. Again, still mobile enough. And again, he didn't really play that tough a competition. So what? That's going to be another thing that we're going to look at. Like, is this guy going to, especially in the NFL, playing with the New York Jets? They're trash. We're going to find out whether or not he can play on a trash team. And I'm worried that because he's playing on such a trash team, that's going to really affect him. I can't remember the last BYU quarterback. I would not say Taysom Hill's a quarterback, but more so, the last time a BYU quarterback went highly, and maybe it might have been, oh my God, Steve Young. It might have just been Steve Young, but who knows? But I think Zach Wilson does have a potential. But my worry, of course, is going to be whether or not the New York Jets can build a team around Zach Wilson. I'm still worried about that. I think from their history of not really building contending teams, it's going to be a huge problem. Again, we're looking at the highlights here. And I want my quarterbacks to make all types of throws. They can't just be making simple throws, or even throws that or just even like they have to make more throws than just the fade to the corner, the long throw. Like here again, another fade route. Like those are all great and all that, but you have to be able to throw different multiple balls. Like you can't just be throwing the same. I would say can't be throwing the same ball, man. Wish they would show the highlight on that. I just want to see what route he ran there. Of course, it won't show me what route he ran. Again, does have like a nice little sidearm throw to get out of trouble. And again, like BYU is a pretty solid program. They've had a couple of years where they could have actually done some things. And this would have been the year. But again, Zach Wilson, number 2, had probably the best pro day, I feel like, out of any of the prospects. But again, pro days don't mean anything, right? Just like in the NBA, just like in the NFL, those combine days, those pro days don't mean anything because you're in the shorts and a t-shirt, especially for the football, where you're not wearing pads, you're not actually, in full uniform. Like, how am I going to learn anything about this player if he's not really fully dressed out? And again, that's kind of my biggest question mark for them. Now at number 3, Pro Football Focus has them taking Justin Fields, and I've seen a lot of different mock drafts either put Mac Jones there or Justin Fields or even Trey Lance. I think, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, again, I'm not a football expert. We all know I'm more NFL, but to diversify the product here on the charge, I think Justin Fields is the perfect prospect for them because they already have a guy in Mac Jones. His name is Jimmy Garoppolo. And I know that Jimmy Garoppolo is very limited, and I know that, I think Bill Belichick should have gotten a first-round pick for him. I don't know why he was not trading Jimmy Garoppolo for a first-round pick. But, I would honestly look at just trying to get something different. Like, why would I want Mac Jones? Again, similar. He had the track star wide receivers, just like Tua Tagovailoa had. And, Tua Tagovailoa actually he did prove to be a really good quarterback. My question mark for me is like, all right, you already had Jimmy Garoppolo. You saw that experiment fail. Why not get a guy in Justin Fields who's different? Different than, I would say, a Mac Jones. Different than, well, maybe not Trey Lance, but especially Mac Jones. I think Justin Fields has the ability to do some damage in the NFL. But my question mark for me and for all of this is going to be, do the 49ers trust that he's able to do that? Trust that they're going to get a guy in Justin Fields and play that style where, it doesn't seem like anybody's a stat guy when it comes to their wide receivers or the running backs. But will Kyle Shanahan really like it? Will Lynch be okay with it? Like John Lynch, I believe his name, the guy that used to play for the Buccaneers back in the day. That to me is going to be the biggest question mark. And I hope to be proven right about Justin Fields because I think he's a tremendous talent. I think he's a great player. But again, it all comes down to, for me, for the 49ers, is making sure that they don't lose those talented players on the outside to really help Justin Fields. Because again, I think he's going to be a lot better. I think he's going to add something different. Whereas you have a guy in Mac Jones, who I think is just similar. I mean, if we look at kind of some Mac Jones highlights and just see what really he's doing, it's not really something that I'm like excited about. Again, throw it up to the honestly talented wide receivers. Like I'm not sure if I really agree with everything that's going on here in terms of, again, not a bad route. Good timing on that route. Good timing on that throw. But again, you have Waddle, you have Devonta Smith, like you have the wide receivers. So I'm not sure if this is really a indictment or indictment of Matt Jones, but I'm just not a big fan of Matt Jones. Again, we'll see what happens. I do think I could be wrong on that, but when you have talented wide receivers like that, it's hard not to just take advantage of their talent. The question mark for me is going to be in the near future when we do go into NFL pads and we do go play NFL teams and really look at things. Does Mac Jones do anything that's even remotely similar or different to a guy in Jimmy Garoppolo? To me personally, I think he does, but I could be wrong on that. I really could be wrong on my assumption and maybe my assertion on Jimmy Garoppolo, and maybe just Matt Jones in general. Because again, you look at Devonta Smith, you look at the weapons that they had. I think that's really got to tell you that this team is built to support a guy like Matt Jones, who may be limited. He might be another Jimmy Garoppolo. Mitchell Trubisky looks to have a better arm than Trubisky, but still doesn't have the Nickelodeon award. But in all seriousness, like he doesn't have. I don't know if he has like, yeah, he might have the strong arm, but can he do anything else? And we all seen what happens when you have a strong arm. Yes, you may throw the most talented and most perfect lob ball to your wide receiver, but the biggest question mark for me is going to be, can he throw the other routes? Like, can he do what Trevor Lawrence does? Can he do what Zach Wilson does? I just don't think he can. And that's why I think, in my opinion, you should go with Justin Fields, who I believe had 2 pro days. But if we really look at the highlights for Justin Fields, I think that he's a lot better. Again, forget these ads, man. They're trash. I don't know why they keep showing me this, but let's look at Justin Fields in these highlights. I think he provides more talent than I believe. We see there, good route there. He sees him with the safety in the back. Again, looks a lot faster than all these other quarterback prospects that we have here. I do think that he's going to be a tremendous player and a talented player, and along with that. And so to me, when I really look at things, when I really see everything, I believe that Justin Fields will be the better prospect for Mac Jones. Like, I just think if the 49ers, and again, I'm a huge Seahawks fan, but speaking without any bias, I think that they really should take Justin Fields, because I think he provides something else other than just throwing the ball. He provides running it, but also, some RPOs. I mean, RPOs are like a huge thing in the NFL right now, for some of these teams. And I just think that he might be the better fit for an RPO offense than I feel like Mac Jones. And I think that's really what the 49ers should do, is just a lot of RPOs. Not really worry about all this other stuff. But again, that's just my opinion. That's just what I think. And we'll see what happens, man. I do think that Justin Fields is that guy. The question mark for me and everything is going to be, do the 49ers just overthink the room? Do they try to outplay it? They traded up for this pick. And, this pick is obviously going to be a quarterback. Otherwise, you wouldn't trade up this high to get like a Pitts or even a Penei Sewell. I just don't think you trade up that high. But I could be wrong. But at the same time, Jimmy Garoppolo has just not worked out. Yes, they got to that Super Bowl, but there was nothing else with it. And so, in my opinion, I think that's where they should really go. And again, Devonta Smith is going to be mostly in these highlights. Or sorry, that's not Devonta Smith. I'm thinking of Alabama. But you really look at it here. Again, quarterback keeper, able to get it by him. Boom, touchdown. And I just think that to me is why the 49ers should go and get this guy. Like, is he the most accurate quarterback? No. But is he going to make a lot of plays? Yes. And is he going to do a lot of things that these other guys won't? Absolutely. And I think that the athletes that they have around in the 49ers and whatever they are, San Francisco, I guess, more like Santa Ana, I think you're going to see them be better with a guy like Justin Fields over Mac Jones. And again, we look at the highlights and we look at kind of the floor. Kyle Pitts going to number 4. I think this guy is the most talented player in the draft. Obviously, one of the best weapons out there from the tight end position. I think for some people, he's had a higher grade than Kellen Winslow Jr., who was at the time the highest graded tight end of all time. Kyle Pitts is now in that category, and I really do think that he's going to do a tremendous job at Atlanta. Then we go to number 5, Penei Sewell. Obviously, they need to protect Joe Burrow. He just got hurt. I think it only makes sense to have Penei Sewell there. 6, Ja'Marr Chase. I think this one is probably highly debated between a lot of the people in, I would say, the community, because a lot of people are looking at Ja'Marr Chase and Devonta Smith as kind of 1A, 1B with the way that those two play. And I think that when you look at everything, a lot of people are scared of Devonta Smith because he's so skinny. I think he's like 180 and like 6'5 or 6'2, maybe like 6'2, 6'3 and like 180, which is really tiny. But again, I don't have any problem with that. Ja'Marr Chase, we look at it. I think you do need to get Tua Tagovailoa a lot of weapons, but I think you might need to go and trade up to get that tight end, because I think the tight end is actually going to be a better piece for the Miami than I feel like the Falcons, because the Falcons already have Calvin Ridley and they have Julio Jones. Are they going to trade one of those guys? That's going to be the biggest question mark for me. And again, you have the Detroit Lions taking Devontae Smith, trying to replace Calvin Johnson back in the day. And then number 8, you have them taking Rashawn Slater from Northwestern. I'm not so sure about this pick. I really do think that this is going to be a quarterback. I think Carolina is looking at, okay, yes, we have Teddy Bridgewater. We like him, but is he going to move the needle in terms of getting us to the playoffs or basically completely tanking? And I just think that you need to look at a quarterback, maybe get Trey Lance or Mac Jones here. But again, who knows? 49ers obviously going to take Matt Jones out of Alabama. They need a quarterback. Drew Lock obviously has not been the answer. I just think it only makes sense for the Denver Broncos to take basically what's ever remaining left with the quarterbacks. Then you got Patrick Surtain II from Alabama. You got Jaren Waddle. And when we really look down the list, New England is looking to get Trey Lance, who, we'll see what happens there. This Pro Football Focus calls it, New England is primed to move up for a quarterback on draft night, but more I let this draft play out, the more comfortable with Lance being in the middle of the first. He's a dynamic runner who flashes the arm to hit every throw, but his accuracy is a notch below the other 4 first-round prospects. It's a good play for New England, who have Cam Newton for 1 year, and they can make time with Lance and throw him right out into the mix when he's ready. Lance did his best work as a redshirt freshman in 2019 when he graded a 90.7 overall, but there was some risk with the quarterback who've only had 371 career dropbacks. And that's the thing with Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is more of a runner, and we're going to find out if this dude can play NFL quarterback. And that's going to be the biggest thing for me as it pertains to what they're going to do here in the NFL. I mean, again, Micah Parsons, another great linebacker. I mean, if Arizona gets him, I mean, that's going to be a tremendous, talented team, man. I think the Cardinals are looking crazy right now with the way that they've been able to add pieces. And I think that once they add more offensive line, they're going to be even better. And again, not really too much here that I really want to go over. Obviously, we would have the 23rd pick. The New York Jets have ours, and they would take Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. And that's not really too crazy. I mean, if we really look at kind of the mock draft for a lot of these guys, I'm not sure that there's going to be anything really noteworthy. But at the same time, we'll see what happens. Give me 1 second. Let's see here. see here. Gonna jump in there really quick. I'm gonna grab another pair of headset. Give me 1 second, and we'll be right back to talk some NFL mock draft. But don't go anywhere. We're gonna put the vibes back on, and we're gonna call it good. Be right back. Alrighty, just got my headset. Just give me 1 second to connect to it. Alrighty. Let me just connect to those really quick. And again, I'm not an NFL expert. I'm not an NFL analyst. I'm not here to kind of say like, oh, yes, I know everything, or, you know, whatever the case may be. But I do think that when it comes to just talking about in terms of, in general, just talking about what's going on in the NFL in terms of what teams should take, I do think that I think it's going to be a tremendous talented group in terms of in terms of quarterbacks. I think this draft is just talented in general, and it sucks that the Seahawks don't have a first round pick. Obviously, we gave those away with the Jamal Adams trade, but what I find frustrating about this whole thing is that I wish that we would be able to really have that draft pick back, because I think the Seahawks could benefit from really adding some of those talented players. But again, it is what it is at this point. You just have to deal with it. And excuse me there. And again, you know, we'll find out what happens in this draft. I do think that when we look at the mock draft and we look at everything, I do think that we will get a great player. I mean, let's look at kind of some Seahawks draft news. Kind of see who we're going for. I know that we definitely are in desperate need of really helping our team. Again, this is kind of like who the Seahawks will add. This is from Seahawks.com. We don't really need a quarterback. You know, we've already talked about this. For me, what we're going to be looking at more so is like who the Seahawks will add. You know, it's just kind of one of those things you look at and you're like, okay, the Seahawks definitely have glaring needs everywhere. And it's going to be a question of like, where are we going to get those glaring needs filled at in this draft? Obviously, I'm trying to see what draft picks we have here. Again, 3 picks. That's all for the Seahawks have for the unusual draft. It's just not what I want to see. I think offensive line is like number one for me when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks. They really need to protect Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson also needs to throw the ball away a little bit more, in my opinion. I think he's gotten away from that, but we still need to protect him because I still think we're not giving the guy enough time to really go back, drop back, and really find our wide receivers. Get DK Metcalf in the game. Get Tyler Lockett. When I do think that Russell Wilson does try to force the issue with those guys, but again, my whole thing is going to be, let's get the guys some help. And I think another glaring need we need is just obviously getting another wide receiver. I think that's another important part. But also, I think the biggest thing for me is going to be cornerback as well. I think that we're going to be lacking at the cornerback position. And with only 3-4 picks, it's not really that much. It's just kind of one of those things where we just look at it, where it's like we don't really have that many draft picks. We traded most of that stuff away, and now we're just kind of left with holding the bag of like not really benefiting from actually getting those guys, not benefiting from Jamal Adams. Like, yes, he was a great addition to our team. I do love Jamal Adams, but defensively, we still gave up a lot of points in the first half and even the second half of the I mean, think about how many points we gave up to that the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, they were not a good team. They lost Dak at they might have actually had Dak at that time, but still, giving up that many points, like, we really need to shore up. And I know that a lot of our guys were injured, especially at the safety position with Marquise Blair, and a lot of other injuries as well. Now we got to find out who's going to be our guys. And that's going to be the biggest question mark for me. So I think here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop the stream here. We're going to rest up, really do some research for the Seattle Seahawks draft, and then tomorrow we're going to talk Seattle Seahawks and figure out what they need to do in order to get that done. Again, we'll probably go around the same time, just to give or take a few minutes, and really just kind of dial in on what we need to do for the Seattle Seahawks and what they need to do for this draft. But anyway, guys, thank you once again for joining me here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. I do appreciate everybody that was on here for the NFL talk today. I know it's a lot different than what we talked about. There's a lot of news that we can talk about in terms of just college basketball in general. And you know what? I kind of want to give my story. I want to give my story of my past and, kind of talk a little basketball with you guys about my journey to becoming a head coach. It's one of those ones where it was very unusual, but I think I'll save that for another time and another day and really get into it with maybe a couple of my friends to kind of talk about basketball and experience at the school that I was at. I think that'll be a fun one to talk about and kind of the reason why I've changed my coaching style and really changed the way I've coached for this last couple of years. I feel like my coaching style has definitely changed from when I was a player to when I was a first-year head coach to now 4 years into the coaching world. I do think that that's something that we're going to talk about here on the channel because I think it's going to be very important to talk about. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining. And I'll catch you on the next video. Peace, guys.